super exciting day, day before the Sun Belt Championship. So it's kind of like football Christmas in the Sun Belt. So we're really excited to have two incredible teams that had amazing seasons. When you think about, obviously, the Ragin' Cajuns, Coach of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, 11 all Sun Belt team honorees, playing against Marshall, who won the East. We think about, we're the only FBS conference in divisions, and we think that's really important. The regional rivalries, the building those great kind of fan-oriented rivalries has been a really part of our identity, and so we're really excited to embrace that. And East versus the West, it's been since 2019 since the East has won. The West has won the last three, so it'll be interesting to see if something changes or if things kind of stay the same. Marshall, obviously, they are certainly very familiar with success. They've had great history. First time in the Sun Belt Championship, but certainly won a championship in 2014 when they were in Conference USA, and participated in the championship game in that conference in 2020. And in the Ragin' Cajuns, so this is their fifth appearance in the conference championship game in 7 years. So certainly that is a lot of excellence there. They've won 4 Sun Belt championships overall, and so there's just a lot of great history. So really excited about a game tomorrow that I think is going to be tremendous. Really will come down to the end, and will be really exciting. I'd be remiss if I didn't just remind folks that the Sun Belt isn't just football. We really do believe in excellence across the board. If you think about last season, we had 37 teams in postseason, including 12 bowl teams, which was the most in all of FBS in terms of the 12 bowl teams. And the 37 postseason NCAA and bowl teams is the most amongst our peer conferences. So it's really a conference that is built around excellence in football, but certainly focuses on a lot more than just that in terms of success. So I will stop there, and I will open it up for questions.
Luke Creasy with HD Media in Huntington. Keith, you mentioned the only conference left with the divisions. Just kind of so happened that the two best teams out of the conference were leading each of those divisions. When you look at that idea overall, do you think that keeping those divisions allows the best to rise to the top in each of those different categories, or do you think it's something that you want to reevaluate moving forward?
Yeah, I think we'll always evaluate it. I don't think we want to be obtuse and not really follow the trends or what the data says. But I do think it's part of our identity. Those regional rivalries are really important. So when you think about the case of Marshall, we want them playing JMU and App and Coastal more than playing the teams in the West. And for Louisiana, we want them playing more games against Southern Miss and ULM and South Alabama and Troy. And I think that just creates a lot of really a lot of interest. Our fans understand these rivalries. The great part about some of the changes that we've had in our conference membership is they brought old rivals back together again. And so we really want to play on that. So I don't really anticipate, any changes in that regard, but I wouldn't say that we're not going to continue to evaluate, because if it makes sense to change, we certainly will. But right now we feel really good about kind of where we are and who we are and kind of how the conference is built.
Matt Miguez with ESPN Southwest Louisiana here in Lafayette. Keith, we've talked before about the growth of this Sun Belt Conference over the last couple of years. What does it mean for you as commissioner to see this game being played in a primetime slot on ESPN tomorrow night?
Yeah, I think it's tremendous. It's interesting to listen to Coach Des kind of talk about his journey in the Sun Belt, from being an all-conference player to being Coach of the Year. And I kind of think that's a metaphor for the league. We continue to grow. I think ESPN has been a great partner for us, so we really appreciate that partnership and the visibility that it provides us. But to play, in prime time on Championship Saturday is a big deal. And it's something that we're really excited about. It's something that we'll embrace, and it will allow us to showcase just the quality of Sun Belt football to the nation.
about kind of building off that, looking at the expansion of the league and the teams you did add back before the 2022 season. Obviously James Madison has had their success. Marshall wins the East this year, and when you look, those teams that you brought in that had those strong backgrounds in football, are really starting to better the league. Is that kind of what you anticipated, and how has that maybe lived up to your expectations from the teams you brought in?
Yeah, I really do think our best days are ahead. But we're really excited about the progress we made. We feel like we brought in 4 members that complemented the 10 kind of football playing members that we had. They really were focused on football. They had good football tradition. They had great fan bases who were engaged, and that was really a recipe for us because it kind of fit with the schools that we had, unfortunately I can't predict the future. So you never know how these things are going to go, but I can't be more pleased with how it's turned out across the board. We've gotten competitive in everything, and so everyone has gotten better with these additions, and we're really excited about the future. Like I said, I really do think our best days are ahead of us.
Kevin Foote, Acadiana Advocate. Is the situation of trying to put the conference teams that are eligible into the bowl, into this bowl or that bowl, is it the same kind of discussions that you're having this year with all of that, or have things changed in like a year ago or 2 years ago?
Yeah, I think if you look back to our bowl lineup last year, we've got 5 primary bowl tie-ins, right? And unfortunately that can't change until the bowl cycle comes and those open up. And so we certainly have a plan for when that cycle opens up, prior to the 26th season for that. But it really is trying to find the best matchups, and locales that make kind of sense for our fans. That's what we've really tried to do. If you look at last year, we probably had our best bowl lineup, that we've ever had. We had a team in the Birmingham Bowl, playing an ACC opponent. We had a team in the Armed Forces Bowl, which is a bowl we hadn't been a part of before. We got a chance to go to First Responders again. We played 3 bowls that were on ABC. So all of those things are important. Network partner, where the game's going to be broadcast, where it's going to be played, and who it's going to be against. And so I think that we are really getting to where we really are having better options. And I feel good about that in terms of, what the football programs in this league has done. You think about the 2 teams we have right now, the football tradition they have, the success that they've had. They're very desirable to bowl partners. We have a backup agreement with the Independence Bowl now, which we didn't have before, which is really helpful. So there's a lot of interest in Sun Belt football. And so things have gotten better because of the quality of our programs and what our coaches and players and our schools have done in terms of improving their football.
So, the New Orleans Bowl was announced today. Any more thoughts about remaining options?
In terms of
like these teams and other teams, like.
Yeah, those are things we're working on. Like, we can't publicize some of those things. I would say that the options for these teams won't be available until Sunday, once we see what the outcomes are, and then start moving those things around. We'll probably have one more bowl that we might announce early before the Sunday when a lot of them are announced. But we announced obviously the bowl in Montgomery. We announced the New Orleans Bowl. I could see one more maybe, but it probably won't be dealing with the Cajuns or with Marshall.
Dawson Iserlow, ESPN Southwest Louisiana. You talked back in July at Media Days about the playoff and that being the ultimate goal now to get a team in there. I know it doesn't look like it's going to happen this year, but has the conference learned anything about the way the teams were ranked or evaluated, and kind of what Boise and some of those teams have done that they think they can use in the future?
Yeah, I think so. Now we'll go back and take a deep dive, after the season, really look at the schedule, see how certain schedules were built for playoff teams that look more like us versus kind of our schedule. So we've got some research to really understand that. But I do think there are things that we're learning in terms of, what games you want to play, what games maybe you don't want to play. what kind of outcomes you need to have in the scheduling process. And so I think it's a learning process because this is the first year of the 12 team. And there's a lot of analysis that we'll need to do kind of postseason to really kind of understand it. And then we need to get some history, right? We need to get several years kind of under our belt. But I do think, with every kind of passing football season, there's a lot to be learned that can kind of help you go forward. And so we'll do a deep dive after the season and figure out what we can glean and then try to apply those things going forward.
And I know you do a good job of keeping your finger on the pulse across all sports in the Sun Belt, but and part of that comes with relationships with some of these coaches. And what have you enjoyed about watching Coach D and Coach Huff and how they've kind of led these programs and you having a chance to get to know them?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's almost like contrasting styles, and I like both of it. Coach Huff is really kind of demonstrative and really kind of fired up outwardly, where Des has more of a kind of an internal kind of motor that's going on. But if you think about it, both of these teams kind of play football the same way, right? Very physical, very good up front. They're trying to run the ball, and then everything is kind of predicated off of stopping the run for their defenses and then running the ball for their offenses. And they got great athletes and really good skill players. So it's interesting. I think outwardly they look like two completely different people. But I think inwardly the way they coach football and the way they play it is the way the game's supposed to be played, right? Physical at the point of the attack. And just trying to win every play, against your opponent. So I'm really excited. I'm happy for both of them. Both have done a great job, so deserving of this opportunity, and obviously whatever happens after this, kind of in the postseason and the bowl space, I think will be really good for both of them too.
Cody Juneau with College AD. In April, Judge Wilkins going to make a final ruling and expect it to put the House settlement into play starting in July. The SEC has come out and said that they're going to stay at the 85 scholarship level. Where does the Sun Belt stand, and are there any mandates or guidelines that the league is passing along to teams as it relates to revenue sharing as we head into that era?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So those are things that we're still working through as we get more details. I'll tell you my thought is, at the end of the day, we've never had minimums or maximums, and we've had financial aid limits since the beginning of college athletics, or certainly my involvement in college athletics. So I don't know that just because kind of the way the financial aid is managed changes should mean that we should all of a sudden have minimums or maximums. So I don't know that that's something I'll be advocating for. Certainly that's a membership decision, and certainly if folks are really interested in that, we'll certainly explore that. But as I think about it, as I see it, I don't think that there's a need for minimums and maximums. I think that our schools really understand what it takes to win. They've been investing heavily in athletics, and I don't think that will change. And so I don't know that we need centralized mandates to do that. I think they're all competitive enough, and they all want to continue the momentum that they have, and so they'll be able to figure out that path that is best for them, because each school's a little different, and I don't know that kind of a centralized path is gonna be the best way to approach it.
Thank you, Commissioner. We appreciate it.